Toto is a baby monkey. This story is all about his adventures and whether he is naughty or well-behaved. Grandfather bought Toto from a Tonga driver for 5 rupees. The Tonga driver is a person who drives a cart that is pulled by an animal, like a horse. The Tonga driver had kept Toto tied to a feeding trough. A feeding trough is like a long, open box where animals eat their food. Toto looked very out of place there, so Grandfather decided to add him to his own special collection of animals, which he called his private zoo. Toto was a really nice-looking monkey. His bright eyes sparkled with mischief under his deep eyebrows. Mischief means being playfully naughty or causing trouble in a fun way. His teeth were super white, like pearls, and when he smiled, it often scared older Anglo-Indian ladies. Anglo-Indian refers to people who have both British and Indian family history. His hands looked dry, as if they had been kept in the sun for a long time, like pickled food. But his fingers were very fast and clever, and his tail, which Grandfather thought made him look even better, was like an extra hand for him. He could use it to hang from a tree branch. He could also use his tail to grab any yummy food that was too far for his hands to reach. Grandmother always got upset whenever Grandfather brought a new bird or animal home. So, Grandfather and the narrator decided to keep Toto a secret from her. They wanted to wait until Grandmother was in a really good mood before telling her. Grandfather and the narrator put Toto in a small closet that opened into the narrator's bedroom wall. They tied him tightly to a peg that was stuck in the wall. A peg is a small hook or pin that is put into a wall to hang things on. Or at least that's what they thought. A few hours later, Grandfather and the narrator came back to let Toto out. They were surprised to see that the walls, which had been covered with pretty decorative paper chosen by Grandfather, were now just bare brick and plaster. Ornamental means decorative or fancy. The peg that Toto was tied to had been pulled right out of the wall, and the narrator's school blazer, which was hanging there, was torn into tiny pieces. A blazer is a type of jacket that is often worn as part of a school uniform. The narrator wondered what Grandmother would say, but Grandfather didn't worry at all. He seemed very happy with how naughty Toto had been. Grandfather said Toto was very clever. He was sure that if Toto had more time, he would have tied the torn pieces of the blazer into a rope and escaped out the window. Since Toto's presence in the house was still a secret, he was moved to a big cage in the servants' quarters. The servants' quarters are the rooms in a house where the people who work there live. Many of Grandfather's other pets lived there happily together, including a tortoise, a pair of rabbits, a squirrel that was tame, and for a short time, the narrator's pet goat. Tame means not wild or dangerous, friendly towards humans. But Toto wouldn't let any of his cage mates sleep at night. His cage mates are the other animals he shared the cage with. The next day, Grandfather had to go to Dehradun to collect his pension in Saharanpur. A pension is money that a person receives regularly after they retire from work. Because Toto was so restless, Grandfather decided to take him along. Sadly, the narrator could not go with Grandfather on that trip, but Grandfather told him all about it afterwards. Grandfather got a big black canvas kit bag for Toto. Canvas is a very strong, thick type of cloth. A kit bag is a bag used to carry personal items or equipment. Grandfather put some straw at the bottom, and this became Toto's new home. Abode means a place where someone lives, a home. When the bag was closed, Toto couldn't escape. He couldn't push his hands through the opening, and the canvas was too tough for him to bite his way out. Toto's attempts to get out made the bag roll around on the floor or sometimes jump into the air. This show attracted a lot of curious people on the Dehradun railway platform. Curious means wanting to know or see something new and interesting. Toto stayed inside the bag all the way to Saharanpur. But while Grandfather was showing his ticket at the railway turnstile, Toto suddenly poked his head out of the bag and gave the ticket collector a big smile. A turnstile is a spinning gate that lets only one person pass through at a time, usually at an entrance. The poor ticket collector was really surprised, but he quickly thought of something clever, even though Grandfather was very annoyed. He said, "Sir, you have a dog with you. You will have to pay for it accordingly." Grandfather tried his best, but it was no use. He took Toto out of the bag and tried to prove that a monkey was not a dog or even a quadruped. In vain means without success or effort that produces no result. Quadruped is an animal that has 4 feet. But the ticket collector decided that Toto was a dog, so grandfather had to pay 3 rupees as Toto's fare. Then, just to get back at the ticket collector, grandfather took his pet tortoise out of his pocket. He asked, "What must I pay for this, since you charge for all animals?" The ticket collector looked closely at the tortoise and poked it with his finger. Then he gave grandfather a happy and winning look and said, "No charge, it is not a dog." When grandmother finally said yes to Toto, he got a comfortable home in the stable. A stable is a building where horses or other animals like donkeys are kept. His companion there was the family donkey, Nana. Companion means a friend or someone who spends time with another. On Toto's first night in the stable, grandfather went to check if he was comfortable. To his surprise, he found Nana, for no clear reason, pulling at her halter. A halter is a rope or strap that goes around an animal's head, used for leading or tying it. She was trying to keep her head as far away as possible from a bundle of hay. Hay is dried grass that is used as food for animals. Grandfather slapped Nana on her back legs, and she jerked back, pulling Toto with her. Toto had grabbed onto Nana's long ears with his sharp little teeth. Toto and Nana never became friends after that. A big treat for Toto on cold winter evenings was a large bowl of warm water that grandmother gave him for his bath. He would smartly test the water temperature with his hand. Then he would slowly step into the bath, first one foot, then the other, just like he had seen the narrator do. He would get into the water all the way up to his neck. Once he was comfortable, he would take the soap in his hands or feet and rub it all over himself. When the water got cold, he would jump out and run as fast as he could to the kitchen fire to dry himself. If anyone laughed at him during his bath time, Toto would feel very sad and refuse to continue bathing. One day, Toto almost boiled himself alive. A large kitchen kettle had been left on the fire to boil water for tea. A kettle is a container with a handle and a spout used for boiling water. Toto, having nothing better to do, decided to take off the lid. He found the water just warm enough for a bath, so he got in with only his head sticking out of the open kettle. This was fine for a while, but then the water started to boil. Toto lifted himself up a little, but finding it cold outside the kettle, he sat back down again. He kept hopping up and down inside the kettle for some time. Finally, grandmother arrived and pulled him out of the kettle, half-boiled. The author says that if there's a part of the brain that makes you mischievous, Toto had a very big one. He was always tearing things into pieces. Whenever one of the narrator's aunts came near him, Toto would try his best to grab her dress and tear a hole in it. One day, at lunchtime, a large dish of pulao stood in the middle of the dining table. They walked into the room and found Toto eating all the rice. Grandmother screamed. Toto then threw a plate at her. One of the aunts rushed forward and got a glass of water thrown in her face. When grandfather arrived, Toto picked up the dish of pulao and left through a window. They found him in the branches of the jackfruit tree, still holding the dish. He stayed there all afternoon, slowly eating all the rice, determined to finish every single grain. And then, to annoy grandmother, who had screamed at him, he threw the dish down from the tree. He chattered with joy when it broke into 100 pieces. It was clear that Toto was not the kind of pet they could keep for a long time. Even grandfather realized this. They were not rich and couldn't afford to keep losing dishes, clothes, curtains, and wallpaper so often. So grandfather found the Tonga driver again and sold Toto back to him for only 3 rupees. Like, share, and subscribe.